This week I caked sneaker cakes, and I'm bringing them to another YouTuber, Adelaine Morin. She knows I brought a cake, but she doesn't know what it is. She doesn't know what color it is inside.
Orhan, can you walk in front of me?
No, I don't want you to hold it. I just want you to
walk in front of me.
I'm gonna make this cake to look as close to the real thing as I possibly can, and when I bring them to Adelaine, I'm gonna let her put a spin on it and decorate them.
Ooh, there it is! Oh my god.
Do you know what it is? Can you tell, Blue?
Can we open it?
No.
What?
Because, well, before I show you what it is, I have to tell them how I caked it. To make this cake, I baked 10 pounds of my ultimate vanilla batter, and I dyed it yellow. Mainly because I like yellow. I'm not sure if Adelaine's gonna like yellow. Like, I really hope she likes yellow. I looked on her channel, I didn't see a lot of yellow. I'm hoping she likes this. My cake has baked, cooled, and chilled. I'm removing it from its pan, and then I'm going to level it and remove the caramelization from the bottom. Yeah, this is one cake that's gonna turn into 2 cakes. Now I wanna cut this cake in half, not in layers, but into 2 even halves, and then I'm gonna cut each half into half again, so I have 4 strips of cake. Now it's time to layer all 4 of those strips of cake so that I'll have 8 strips of cake. And at this point, I wanna cut off some of the caramelization, mainly because it's just bothering me to look at it. And with the help of Sir Squeeze, simple syrup then. We kind of wanted to make Adelaine suffer a little, just as much as possible. Not suffer, but we wanted, to make her wait. We're building suspense and anticipation. So I just, asked her some questions while she wondered what was in the box. What made you want to start your channel?
I started when I was 13.
And we're out.
I was obsessed with Juicy Star 07 and Mac Barbie 07 and those kind of lifestyle girls.
Did you know what you wanted to do on your channel? The minute you started?
No.
So wait, what's your first video?
My first video is what should I do?
That's smart. Did you actually?
Nobody commented.
Nobody. I was like, what did they tell you to do? Never mind.
Commented.
Once the syrup has soaked in, it's time to fill and stack these cakes. I'm stacking them as 2 cakes, each with 4 layers and 3 layers of Italian Meringue Buttercream in between. Once they're filled, I'm gonna pop them in the fridge to chill. So it's time to carve these 2 cakes into 2 sneakers, 1 left foot, 1 right foot. I have made some templates, surprise! So I have my template, and then I also have 2 boards that I cut out that are the shape of a sole of shoes, carving right around that board with a small serrated knife. And then I flipped both cakes over. When I printed the template of the side view, I folded the paper and I cut it out twice. So it's I had the template and then a shadow of it. You know what I mean? And so I pinned it to either side of the cake so that I could make sure when I was carving it was symmetrical. And you just want to carve away until they both look like sneakers. I find it helpful to go back and forth when I'm doing anything symmetrical, because sometimes if you carve one entire cake into a shoe, when you go back and start the other one, you'll be like, how did I do this? So I don't like doing that. I like to just go back and forth. And then I also went to the store and bought myself a pair of Adidas Superstars. Props.
Yeah, and then she just didn't return.
I returned. You guys were taking pictures, I returned, picked up the sneakers, and some other things I needed. Once you're happy with the shape of the sneaker, you do need to carve an opening at the back, which is where your foot would go if this was a shoe. But unlike a shoe, you're not gonna hollow out the complete cake. You just wanna carve an opening so it looks like, when you're looking down at a shoe where your heel would be. Now it's time to crumb coat and chill. Look at me chilling. This chair is excellent for chilling. Oh wow, I'm chilling. Now that the crumb coat is chilled, it is time to ice these sneakers again and chill.
Let's do a line for like new people and say something like,
Hello, new people! If this is the first time you're watching, welcome. And a crumb coat is something you do to a cake to glue the crumbs to the cake. And you chill it so all of those crumbs stay put when you go back and ice it. This is how you avoid getting crumbs in your icing. It's very important. The first thing I want to do on this long journey of creating sneakers out of cake is cover that inner chamber that we made with some black fondant, just to like suggest darkness. Orhan almost put his foot in these shoes. That would be a funny video. Somebody just going like, oh. Carefully bend it down inside the shoe. And now you just want to trim away the excess black fondant really carefully, sharp paring knife, just along the wall of the shoe and where the tongue will go. And I'm going to very carefully try and smooth it. I'm afraid to poke the fondant, so I'm actually going to roll up a piece of black fondant and use that piece of black fondant to help me smooth the fondant inside the shoe. This way you won't get like fingerprints and nail marks and holes in the shoe. This is a new pair of shoes. Now I want to roll a long band of white fondant to make the sole of the shoe. I'm going to roll 2 bands just in case. Texture these bands with my turkey skinator because the sole of these shoes definitely has texture, and when I was done embossing, I kind of rubbed my fingertips over it to dull the pattern a little. So Adelaine, do you bake at all?
All right, so do you want to see the kind of baking that I do?
I do.
This is the kind of baking that I do.
Excuse me. Hey, I know him. We went to school together. Now what I want to do is cut 2 soles from 1 band. So I cut the band in half. The sole of the shoe is sort of a bit thicker at the back of the shoe than it is at the front of the shoe, so that it's sort of thick going to thinner and then back to thick. I want 1 band with just 1 seam at the back of the shoe. And now I repeat this on the other shoe. I feel like everything I'm gonna say from now on is like, and now do this to the other shoe. I will be covering this cake just like it appears the shoe is made. So I'm not covering it as one, I'm making all the different sections. So for the front part of the shoe and the inner part of the shoe, I don't know what to call it. I have this rolling pin. I used it on Olaf's scarf. It's like, it has a grid pattern. The front of the Adidas sneakers, there's a pattern that actually looks like X's and it runs diagonally. So I'm gonna turn my fondant so that quilted pattern is, or grid pattern is diagonal, and lay those triangles along the front of the shoe. I'm talking about this part of the sneaker. Now I'm gonna trim the excess where it meets the sole, and I'm also gonna trim it just the way it is on the shoe. I marked up to the point where it starts, I laid the fondant on there, and then I trimmed. Now I'm gonna use more of this same textured fondant to make the inside of the shoe. So I'm using that same fondant, carefully laying it and smooth it along the inside walls and then fold it over. And this time, don't be careful with how you smooth it, because I don't want the texture to look as strong as it does here. I actually want to soften it. I know, I'm sending mixed signals. I'm also gonna cut out the tongue of the shoe. So once you cut out your tongues, flip them over, get that extra textured fondant and cut out a strip, and then glue it to the widest part, the top part of the tongue underneath. The tongue lines up with where we made that front textured part, and then you basically want it to go up the center of the shoe, and that the other textured part that you laid underneath the tongue, you want that to hang over the opening. Now I have to make another template. This time I'm gonna use tracing paper, and I just held this shoe on its side, and then I carefully traced, you know, where the stitching is here, where these holes are. And then I'm gonna cut it out of sturdier paper. And now I will use that template to cut out 4 panels so I can cover both shoes on either side. We want to make sure that they line up properly, they meet at the back, they line up here with this front textured part, and there's space between them because that's where we lace our shoes. Because I want there to be room under these side panels like there is here, I'm gonna fold up some paper towel and just sort of tape it shut, and I'm gonna use it to prop up the fondant flaps. There's one problem. The sole doesn't stick out enough. If you look at the shoe, the sole is like a bit thicker. You see how there's like a ledge? And at this point, it's completely flush on my cake. Remember how I said I rolled out 2 bands just in case? This is what I meant. I have learned this over the years. Just roll out more than you need. Added a second sole on top of the first sole. Oh, and it's a good thing I did that, because when I explained the first time, I forgot to tell you guys, I used a sculpting tool to indent this line here in the sole. So you've got to do that again now. Don't forget to indent the line.
I have something for you.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
Yes.
And it's yellow.
It's yellow, blue.
This is beautiful.
Come over here.
It's too bad I don't know how to do my makeup well. Give them a close up.
This one
There.
was named after me.
Aww.
Me.
Which one?
This one.
And
Beep bop.
if you look on the back,
Yep.
that's me.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh!
And it's yellow and blue.
Oh my
There you go.
Is this your book? I always see it like at chapters and like indigo and like everything. Oh my God.
I love yellow, but like you could.
Yeah, it's like hard to read. It's
barely read.
Even when I make
Oh.
thumbnails, I'm like, it's hard.
It's like I just scribbled. If you look at the front of the shoe, there's a strip here with 3 lines in it that just goes across the toes. Thinner. I used a strip cutter to indent these lines, and then I cut 2 small bands and glued them to the front of my shoes. And at the front here, they overlap the sole. So in this line here, if you were up close, you would see that there's stitching. So I want to replicate this, and I thought the easiest way to do this is to use a clay extruder, and then I split the cords apart and I glued the cord into the little indent, and then I held my fabric measuring tape, and every like ½ inch I used a sculpting tool to poke in the cord. This way it looked like it was sewn. Yes, Orhan, and you're gonna have to siphon through all that footage. We're also going to mark and measure the cake because there are lines here. There are 6 lines over this textured toe part of the shoe. Here where the laces go, it's actually a whole other strip of leather on top. So we're gonna cut out these strips to fit there. And now I'm gonna use my overstitch tool to add this very small stitching along the border. I'm going to use this tool a lot on this shoe. There's a lot of stitching in running shoes. So wherever you see that your sneakers need stitch detail, the overstitch tool is the perfect tool. And the other thing I want to do is cut out the holes for the laces with a small piping tip. I'm just going to glue them on with a little bit of water, and then I'm going to use a cell stick, or it's just a straight sculpting tool with a point at the end, to poke the holes all the way through. And now I'm going to use my overstitch tool as well as my cell stick to mimic those patterns all over the shoe. You went to beauty school, right? Mm-hmm. Did you? Mm-hmm. And how was that?
It was really fun. I think so when I finished high school, I'm like, cool, let's do YouTube full time. This will be so fun. And then I would just sleep all day. Like, it's really easy.
Yeah.
I was doing nothing, and then I started to move to LA, and I made friends over there, and then I don't know, I just found that when I keep learning, that's when I feel the most inspired.
Yeah.
So I went to makeup school, and then I just became obsessed with like the beauty school, and I did like skincare, and now I'm doing hair and everything. And my hair is, like, a little bit crazy right now.
I'm not adding these just yet, but I do want to create 2 more strips of fondant with stitching for this right here. But I have my overstitch tool out, I've got my fondant out, I'm just going to create these strips and leave them in the fridge until I need them. More templates! I'm using tracing paper, tracing this shape, cutting it out, and then using that as the template to cut out my black fondant. So I wrapped it around, I made it taller than the shoe actually was, and then I made sure to trim it very carefully along this top edge, and then make sure that they line up. What makes these shoes, the superstars, these strips. So what I'm going to do is use my ruler to mark ½ inch strips, but then I'm going to use a ravioli wheel to actually cut the strips. I can add the strips to both sides of each shoe, a little water, and make sure that they line up with the holes. That piece of paper you're seeing me use to trim the black strips, it's to prevent the black strips of fondant from staining the white fondant.
Or you can just say you take all the shoes.
Yeah, just say that they're used. Maybe add like old shoe smell. Don't do that.
Put a used sock in your bag.
Okay, so what cake do you think I brought you?
So you said that we're decorating. So I have a feeling it's a gingerbread cake.
Ooh!
Because you know what I mean?
How about can I show you what I brought?
Okay.
Can I do that?
Okay.
Well, this is alcohol. That's for the after party.
What?
No, it's not for the after party. It's because that's how you make paint in cake decorating. Disco dust. And then this is white and this is yellow. And this is some more yellow that I don't want to spill everywhere. And then I brought yellow paintbrushes. I almost dyed my hair blonde. Laces. Woo! Sorry. We're almost there, I feel. It's a cake, guys, so you can't just cut out one long strip and actually lace the cake. But you need to make it appear like you did. So what I'm gonna do is have the shoe beside me and cut these strips into the right lengths and lay them on the shoe as if it's laced. Oh, don't forget this little, I don't know what it's called. There's a little thing in the middle that holds the middle crisscross of lace down.
That's the lace holder.
The lace holder. Do not forget the lace holder, because what would a sneaker be without that? Okay, here's a hint. It's a cake. No, it's something that you would wear. This is something that's been in style for like years.
Forever.
Jeans?
Oh, that's a good guess. But no, jeans are too flat to be cake. It would just be like I rolled out some fondant.
Yeah.
They're comfortable.
Are they shoes?
This is the logo. You guys are familiar with it. And so it's basically like sort of 3 leaf shapes or eye shapes, but then there's 3 perfectly straight lines through them. So what I did is I cut it out as one, ignoring the lines, and then I carefully glued it to the back of each shoe. And I used my template to mark where the lines go. And then I cut them out on the shoe cakes. What is this, a leaf? Does anyone know what this is?
I just want to point out that you're talking about one of the classiest shoes ever invented, wearing Crocs.
Well, thank you for pointing that out. Thank you for pointing that
Were
out.
you wearing Crocs while you were caking?
I was, it felt very wrong. Do you think people want to see me cake Crocs?
Holy.
Now it's time for Adelaine to see these shoes. But before that, please make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, because we can't do this if you're not here. How will I ever make my Crocs? Also, if you're still hunting for special gifts for your loved ones, we have a new holiday collection on howtocakeit.com. There's so much good stuff. Make sure to check it out. There's a link below. You cannot peek.
Okay, Blue and I will close our eyes. Blue and I are closing our eyes.
Okay,
Close your eyes.
you can look.
Oh my gosh! Whoa! Why does this look like a real shoe? Oh my gosh! Wait, I think I have this shoe.
See? I told you it was in style. I mean, I like these sneakers the way they are, but I think you need to yellowify them.
I think I need to too.
Yellowify.
We both need to. Okay. I'm just gonna do a little test. Let me see how it looks.
Right now I'm in your kitchen, but tomorrow
Yes.
you're going to be in
Your
my
kitchen.
So you're gonna switch from yellow to pink. Okay, do you have your plate ready? Oh, what?
Oh my god, this is so cool! It's yellow on the inside! Oh my god!
I should have made it like green on the inside, just something round.
You are like Wonder Woman. I don't understand you. Shall we?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, your hard work. Your 3 days of work I'm about to eat.
Oh my God, it's so cold. It was in a cold car.
I don't know what to say.
I'm just glad you like it.
It's so good.
Guys, if you want to check out the second half of this collab on Adelaine Morin's channel, then click here, right here. And if you want to see more awesome cakes, click here. Ooh, Crocs. Yeah. Yeah, I want to make some Crocs. Okay.